We got a guest today.
It's a bit of a funny one today, bro. Because technically we've got a guest, but he's so quiet and so reluctant to speak. It's almost like we haven't got one, so it might just end up being me and you chatting all the way through this podcast, if I'm being brutally honest. He's renowned for being pretty quiet, not really having an opinion as well, you know what them ones, but it was
a fence sitter.
A fence sitter,
Renowned.
doesn't like an opinion, never really gets involved in anything on social media. Do you know what I mean? Also as well, he's not really got any anecdotes or any stories, not really done much. No, with himself, so I don't know what we're going to talk to him about.
Why have you brought him on then?
I don't know, man. It was a last minute thing, innit? I didn't know what to say. Do you know what I mean? And I thought it's about time we had someone here that's sort of, you know, right wing. I'm joking, of course. We've got Mr. Terry Christian here, Mr. the scourge of the right wingers on social media.
I'm just going to go on my phone because I don't think you'll be needing me anymore.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's sarcasm or passive aggressiveness. Got to watch out. Ageism, that's what it is.
Listen, on this channel, on this podcast, you don't get any ageism. This is the middle-aged club on here, my brother.
Oh, you're so right.
Hey, seriously.
I can't even deny it, can I?
No, mate. Me and you are the elder statesmen of this channel, usually. But obviously,
I'm what they call late middle age.
Late middle age. You're still middle aged, Terry. Don't you worry about that. We've got Terry on, and we could talk about lots of things. I do want to talk about lots of things, right? Because now and again, you keep popping up on my social media, on my TikTok or whatever, and it's things that you've not even told me about, right? Like, I messaged you the other day about like Chappell.
Oh, Dave Chappell, on the Word,
Dave Chappell, yeah. And I didn't even know about
my mate Dave?
Yeah. And it was like you giving Dave Chappell lessons on
Well, he was brand new, so that
was
his first appearance on British TV, and we had him on The Word as a live guest. But he'd actually been in Manchester the day before, being interviewed by BBC Radio Manchester by Karen Gabay, he still works there every now and then. And she came down to London with him. She took him on the night out in Manchester, and then in London that night.
Wait. Roll back. What year?
1993 was it?
Mid-90s.
Where did
he was young.
Chappell have a night out in town?
Yeah, do you know?
I don't know, but then he went out in London, but he loved it because obviously in America he was only 20 at the time. You used to get ID'd everywhere, and it was like, so you could not get a drink without ID if you looked under the age of 30. So when he came over here and he smoked as well, he found that he could get out there. Booze.
When we was in America, I don't want a name drop because it's not quite as good as yours, the Chappell one, but well, it is good actually. It's a United legend. I shouldn't play it. Wes Brown got ID, did
I wasn't there.
Or was you not?
Was I there?
I think you were. I mean, I don't know. I'm not that I can blame alcohol. I was sober, but he rocked up and he was like, "Have you got ID?" And he was like,
I was always getting ID.
And he was like, "No, I'm 40 or whatever." And they were like, "Well, you need ID."
I was 31. I went to see James in LA while we were filming over there, and I forgot to bring my passport, which was naive because I knew by then. So they let you into the gig. I think it was at the Whiskey A Go Go on Sunset, but you had to have a special stamp on your hand to get a drink at the bar. So I had these people on fake ID, these like 18-year-old student types, buying me beer, and I'm hiding in the corner like I was about 15.
Just to give a bit of context there, because might have some younger viewers who think, what is going on here, what are we on about? So Terry produced a show that, if it came out now, would be on YouTube, but back in the day it was on Channel 4, called The Word, 11 o'clock on a Friday.
It was a cultural movement.
Started off at 6 o'clock on a Friday, actually.
How long did that last?
Pure cultural movement.
It was, wasn't it?
First 12 weeks. 12th week, we went to 11 o'clock at night. We had Flavor Flav on the first show as a live guest, Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston taking a mick out your accent, wasn't it?
Yeah. Boy George as well.
Before, I don't know where kids find music nowadays.
No.
But it was Top of the Pops or The Word, and actually The Word was the cool one.
I was looking at that because I'd come from doing 8 years of specialist music shows, which was all about So I was good at spotting what was coming through. Plus, I had very eclectic taste and managed reggae bands and run nightclubs. Things just took
a bit longer to mature. Like they took a bit longer in the bake, didn't they? Then because it couldn't go viral in a day.
What you had was it was very public school TV, and so they would think that they were like the gatekeepers of the arts and culture, but they weren't that good at it. So if you bullied them a bit, which you had to do, then they would fold, and then after a while they realised that you were right. No, but you know what I mean? I mean, obviously, you believed in it. Not everything's going to be top 10. We have bands like the John Spencer Blues Explosion on and all that.
But you couldn't do a show on telly on a Friday night now because you'd book someone 2-3 weeks in advance. They'd be up and down before they even got to do your show. Well, I mean, you got them on the up.
I mean, there was some second guessing. What happens is too much is decided by panel now. So even with like BBC introducing, it's not like one person like John Peel going, "Well, that sounds a bit great. I'll have that." There's like 3 or 4 of them have all got to agree, and sometimes you end up just with the lowest common denominator. It doesn't mean that you don't get the same verve, you don't get the same excitement. And we had massive arguments. In fact, we had a music booker in series 4, The Word, and he was so adamant about not having one particular band that I wanted on.
Name the band?
Well, I'm going to tell you in a minute. And he kept making...
Storytelling.
I'm guessing
101.
Him and Paul Ross would be walking past me every week going, Terry...
Paul Ross?
Yeah, he was Jonathan. So he was our editor.
Paul Ross, yeah.
So finally, I wanted to get this band on at the end of that series, which was Oasis. Who were only just been signed.
I thought it was either going to be Oasis or Nirvana.
No. The reason I managed to get Oasis on is they were so paranoid because they hadn't booked this other band and tried to take the mickey out of me. And this other band had blown up massive that year. The Cranberries with Linger. I mean, utter
This is 90s heaven for me.
But this is why
I'd seen the Cranberries.
You couldn't do it now because of social media.
I'd seen the Cranberries supporting someone at Manchester Uni about 8 or 9 months earlier. I can't remember who the band were, but it was like, well, I'd gone there because my ex-missus was working the Cranberries, working that particular kind of almost like promo single called Uncertain. Right. But it was like, so it was a different era of TV, and it's a bit like, if you talk about football, now everything's formulaic, even in football. United, what we're trying to do, it's a dull watch.
Don't turn this to football.
Sorry.
I'm enjoying this.
Let's stick for it.
I mean,
we can have your football chat in the last 10 minutes.
What I'm saying is sometimes it's better to have a maverick like a John Peel there, picking the stuff or fighting for the stuff.
Was that you?
That's
then?
where it's interesting, is in the extremes. Yeah. You don't want everything that everyone agrees on, because then it's boring.
Well, you want something that excites you. I mean, if I ever wanted to know it was exciting, I wouldn't go and ask. I mean, when I was doing The Word, I was like 29, 30. I wouldn't go and ask a 29 and 30-year-old. I wouldn't even ask a 21-year-old. I'd ask. It sounds really giving Russell Brand and everything else. I'm moving away from this one. But I would ask a 15, 16 and 17-year-old. Right. What are you excited about? Because that was the thing about the Stone Roses. Even though they were kind of in the late 20s, most of their fans were all 15, 16, 17, 18. They were like, what Sarah Champion at the time was brilliantly described as the pop kids. Yeah. The Manchester pop kids.
Was there a thing at The Word then? Were they trying to push more London bands and stuff? Or
there was that because that's what they knew about, and we did have an awful lot of stuff. They're always looking for the next trend, and as I said, a true trend is ground up, and it doesn't work like that. You just got to go for what you think is good.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's it. You've got to, because we worked with Jo Wiley, and she was great, Jo. I'd worked with her before.
So when you say you worked with her, what was she doing?
Well, she was our music booker on Series 2 and 3.
Right, okay.
Well, she did half of Series 3.
So a lot of people moved into it.
You're right.
No, I got her the job because the guy who was our music booker on Series 1 was useless.
Really?
And I was arguing with him every week. He ended up managing Steps and A1. So you can imagine, can't you?
He did well
so
in the end.
Jo had
got there in the end.
Jo had worked with.
Yeah, exactly.
Jo had worked with, and knew she's a bit of an indie kid and a goth. She came in, but then she started looking too much to what the music papers were writing about. So we ended up getting the right band with the wrong song. Right. So instead of getting, Suede on doing Animal Nitrate or whatever, we had them on doing that awful version of Brass in Pocket. Instead of getting people on with How Can I Love You More, that Northern Soul-y vibe, we got them on doing What Colour My Love or something like that. Wrong song. Right band, wrong song. So, that was a bone of contention between us, and that's because she felt like she was taking a risk unless you were front page of Melody Maker or front page of the NME. But then sometimes that would get twisted because we had a famous band, a famous riot in the studio. It was all a bit staged by a band called Huggy Bear, the Riot Girls.
I remember this.
Right, so they had a single out called Her Jazz, but they were all from Brighton. 2 of the girls shared a flat in Brighton with a guy called Hugh Everett, who was the assistant editor of Melody Maker magazine. So they staged it all to get front page of the Melody Maker, and they'd already had a front page of the Melody Maker, not because they were any good, and so that's why they got on. So they got on at our show and still only sold 3,000 records.
Jesus.
But then they kicked off and had this sort of mini riot, and then you're reading the Melody Maker the following week, and obviously they all hated me, but I never spoke to them, and it was like, Terry Christian said, how dare they come on my show? You know, and blah, 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 you know, all the kind of wanky things that even if you thought them, you'd never say them. You know, you've got a certain amount of decorum being from Manchester. You know, just like nobody really in the media ever goes, don't you know who I am? If they can't get it.
You know what, all right? I don't even think you get away with this on YouTube, some of the things that you used to go, and some of the things you used to do on that. Like, because you was always great at interviewing people, whatever, but, like, when that woman got out on the crowd and hit you.
Oh, but I mean, I've only just found out what her name is this week.
But then what made me laugh, I remember watching that.
This week.
And you think, right, if someone broke into the studio, one of the production staff went in here and hit me and stay, well, he probably would. But then you'd think, right, okay, that's that, move on. But then you replayed it.
Oh, yeah. And
after the adverts.
Well, no, so
let's watch Terry getting slapped again. And everyone's like, Terry, and you went here.
So do the action replay, because it was just before the break. I was just winding up for the break, saying, right, coming up in part 3 or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she just came up. But she stood there not knowing what she was going to do. And then she gave me a right proper clown.
Yeah, it's a slap.
You know, like,
I remember. Was it live?
Yeah.
It was live.
Yes, so then when it came back after part 2, all the crowd were going, Terry, they never show that bit. And whenever they show it on Clips programmes, it's just, northern twat, look at him getting it. Not like they've got an agenda, but actually, so in reality, they're all going, Terry, Terry, like cheering me. And then I came back and I went, right, let's have an action replay. So I show it. And then afterwards, I came out of it and I said, now, you know, she's been banned for the rest of the season and there'll be a full FA inquiry, because that was the same day that Canton and I was in court.
All right, okay.
You know,
I remember watching this. I remember you saying, like, I'll pay for that later or whatever you said. And then
give you a tenner later.
That was it, see? And then it came back and you thought, I've just seen him get it. And then, oh yeah, we have, because he's going to show it again.
What was quite funny about that was, because it was 350 people in the audience. So then the next week I've got, you know, like these blokes who were like, oh, you're showing it?
We can watch it, don't we?
You can put it on that telly behind us.
Put it on that telly behind us.
Yeah, stick it on there behind us.
Yeah, it'll be all right. So,
yeah, that's the full version.
Yeah, because I remember I was watching this, because I must have been about 14, 15 or whatever.
So yeah, Rob Morrow, he was on some big American...
he was in Northern Exposure.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, no, the actor, he was big,
and then the two girls out of Femme to Femme, they were like, this supposed to be this sort of lesbian band, but they weren't really. I went out for a drink with them afterwards.
Right.
But what was really funny about that was the girl who slapped me, I mean, she wasn't a full shilling. I think she was just off it that night.
Yeah.
And I think one of her mates was in a band who were playing on the show that night. And basically, she got interviewed on Capital Radio the next morning. So I'm like bleary-eyed after drinking, you know, at our after show till like 3 in the morning. Yeah. And then heading back to Euston to get like the 10 o'clock train.
She got interviewed about slapping you.
She was being interviewed on Capital Radio as I'm in the taxi.
Saying what?
Well, this was it. Said, so, you know, about why, and they said to her, Terry, so when you slapped him, was it because he was being really misogynistic? And she went, I don't know. And then they said, oh,
press
right,
play.
watch it.
Press play, go on.
So I don't think there's going to be any audio, but we'll be all right.
You'll get the gist of it. Oof. Oh, crikey. So a fair old slap that as well, too. It's not.
I love how no one went to help you. Literally everyone's just like, and then who's that guy there? Like,
I love the fact how she seems to just get back in the crowd and carry on watching.
But it was like, but yeah, so she was getting interviewed, and it was like, was it because he was a bit banal? I don't know. Was it because he was banal?
Yeah,
misogynistic,
I often go and slap someone at a show and then being banal.
And then so it was all that. So she was the worst interview guest ever. Right. And then the next day, I'm getting like, you know, my News of the World or whatever paper it is, and in the gossip column it says, when she was asked why she hit Terry, said, I just thought he was really banal, misogynistic, and inane.
Are you implying that the News of the World made stuff up?
Well, no, but so this is what you live with forever.
This is the most shocking thing we've heard on this podcast.
Well, I mean, one of my best ones.
Piers Morgan's not a nice bloke.
Piers Morgan hated me. Really
good. That's a badge of honour on this. Well, everyone here has been blocked by Piers Morgan on social media, and it took me a long time. I'll give you that. You was annoyed me. It took you a few weeks. It took me a few years.
But the funny thing about Piers Morgan is he was that obsessed with me that when I did meet him, he thought he'd already met me.
Jesus Christ.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you think he's twisted.
It could be worse. You could think that he used to go out with you.
But he used to...
Probably just recognise you from your phone calls.
He used to always say, you see him when he talk about... He said, well, these people, they want you to put them in the press so that they can get big, and then they start slagging you off when you slag them off. And I go, well, I never got put in the press, and I was earning fuck all. I was on about 600 quid a show.
Really?
And, well, he rang Andy Spinoza at the Evening News, because I used to write the word page for the Evening News, which existed before the show.
It's back when the Evening News was a newspaper, not a glorified
Friday night,
blog.
So covering the Manchester music scene.
Formerly great local newspaper.
And Andy Spinoza did the diary page.
Right.
Anyway, I'm there opposite,
Rest in peace,
tapping it in, and he picks up the phone and he puts it down and goes, bloody hell, Terry. He said, I've just had Piers Morgan on the phone to me. I'd only done 3 shows, 6 o'clock in the evening. Kiddies TV hour. And it's
absolutely
Piers Morgan.
Insane. They thought they could put it at 6 in the evening. He said,
have you got any dirt on Terry Christian? Only I want to get him. I've not even been out in bloody London.
That was his thing, though, wasn't it? That was like his thing of just getting dirt on everyone.
But weird. I mean,
I'm saying that was his thing. I mean, he's hardly progressed.
That carried on for years to the extent that because he was at the Sun at the time, and he did a thing. There was a thing in the Sun, a double-page spread. Terry Christian, 20 of my favourite things. Wow. And it was stuff like, I believe you're into music, and it was like me going, yes, I've been listening to the new Jason Donovan a lot recently.
Wait a minute, he did that as an interview, but he didn't do the interview?
Yeah, without putting his name on and without ever speaking to me. So it was all just to make you look as naff as possible.
Can they do that?
They did it constantly. They just make stuff up. In fact, there's an exchange between
Imagine
me.
picking up a paper and you see like an interview with you that you've not given.
Absolutely, totally made up.
But the thing is, you sue them and they put in like a 1-inch. Yeah. Actually, we never.
Well, it was harder back then, and it cost more money. And and I didn't have the money to sue them anyway. I mean, the weirdest one was when I did, and you can see it on YouTube. But I did a 2-way with Piers Morgan on the Monday morning after Mourinho had been. So I did a little piece about where he might go out in Manchester, and all that kind of stuff, and where he might live. And then when it came, he said, now outside Old Trafford, we've got.
I remember this.
Yeah, and I said, well, I didn't go to Charlton Street bus station. I said, but I'm hoping he won't park the bus here.
Nice.
Because obviously I thought he's the worst fit for United ever. So I have this thing with Piers Morgan. He's going, well, I'd love him even if we won 1-0. And I'm going, well, that's an Arsenal thing. You had a chant like that for years. We didn't. And then at the end, he says, well, thank you, Terry. I said, and thank you, Piers. I said, it's the first time you've asked me a question and not made up the answer.
Nice, nicely done.
You can see it. Oh, snide. That's me. Passive aggressive. Never forget a grudge. That's me ADHD. That's me upbringing in Old Trafford. That's the Irish in me.
It's impressive your memory for these people, and not to Piers Morgan, obviously, but
bear a grudge forever.
You do put us. I think you put me in.
He's on my list.
Piers Morgan.
Yeah, he's on the list.
Okay, let's have a look at some of them.
On site, 25 yards, Scholesy reducer, 2-footer.
I have every faith in you to carry it out.
Well, you always think there's
the made-up newspaper.
Yeah, Steve's got an actual and a valid reason for really disliking Piers Morgan after.
I'm sure it wasn't his only one.
Yeah, after what he did with the soldiers and stuff.
The one where he made it up.
He does it all the time. He made everything up. And what was weird was he rang me up at home. Now I worked the summer of 1991, would it have been? So that summer I worked for MTV Europe, and they didn't pay great, but they gave me a free fax machine. Mate, we're talking
what,
big.
In 1991?
Yeah, a
fax machine?
Wait, here's even better.
Wait,
free skybox.
People need to know, Steve, tell people what a fax machine is.
It's like a printer, but I can print something at Terry's house.
Right, thank you.
And then you send it to someone else's fax machine where it prints it out.
So I'm going to draw a picture of me knob and send it to Terry.
Yeah.
There's also probably like legal documents get sent.
It took about 5 minutes to come through.
This is pre-internet. We didn't have the internet in those days.
This is before text messaging.
Yeah.
But then they did, what is it? Well, then they gave me a skybox and a sky satellite dish. And it was and a card that got me 2 movie channels for free, all the other channels
they used
for
to
free.
come on a card, didn't
And
they?
then obviously, so I had football at home. I never knew I had that many mates. Because I had United. So I remember being on a Sunday afternoon, all my mates around there, you know, in my semi, Furswood, posh end of Old Trafford, you know, having a fag, watching United, blah, blah, blah. Phone goes, still had landlines, pick it up, because, hi, it's Piers Morgan here. And obviously we had a guy called Neil Redding, who's still a big PR agent, and he'd always, all his stories always like, Terry's gone into hiding because he's had death threats.
Right, okay.
And I hadn't, but it was like inviting him along
Sorry,
a bit.
I've not even read anything else.
So he said, well, I believe you're in hiding. I said, you're ringing me at home on my landline.
Yeah, I'm not very good at hiding. I'm at home. I mean, hiding at home.
So I just went like that. I went, fuck off, I'm watching the football, and hung up on him. Anyway, the phone goes again. He said, I'm warning you now, don't you dare hang up on me. I went, fuck off. And
was it him that
and he said the exact same thing to, who's the model? Naomi Campbell, when she was suing him. She said that he'd said the exact same line. I mean, the guy's head is up his own arse.
Was he the one that did the most hated man thing? What was the most hated man in
yeah,
television?
him. That's a bit rich, isn't it?
I know he called you the most hated man in television.
House of Cards coming there.
The irony. Yeah.
House of Cards coming there, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, but we'll see.
We'll see, yeah.
Bring. I don't know how to hack a phone.
For legal reasons, you know, allegedly.
Didn't he get done for it?
No. Right, this is the whole thing with Piers Morgan. Yeah, I don't want to turn this into Piers Morgan, but we can talk about him briefly. His argument was he didn't know it was going on. He was editing the newspaper, it was going on, he didn't know about it, which at best makes you a shit editor who don't know what his staff are up to. If they're bringing you all these stories and exclusives and all, you're going, how have you got, and you don't ask him how they got it, or they lie to you, which is what he was saying, I never knew. Like, I just happen to know personal conversations between Gaza and his missus. Like, how? Do you know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
I described him in an Observer article I did as a jumped-up public school arsehole.
Right, okay.
And Kelvin Mackenzie, who was his editor at The Sun,
it's getting worse.
blew it up really big and put it on the notice board in the Sun offices.
Fucking hell, there's another one who's...
Sun offices.
I know, I feel sick. Stevie86H says, Joe missed out. Something to be happy about is that we are one stop higher when City get points deduction. Can't wait till they get fucked. Ian Warren says, we must have Terry's own music show on the channel, all the stories. Now, well, you're launching a podcast, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I've got a channel already.
Steve came up with the idea, right?
Yeah.
Said to Terry, you should do a podcast. And then Terry's recorded
9 months
8
later.
million podcasts that have not been, he's not
I've got ADHD though.
Doing strategic planning.
I'm not a well bloke. Right? I'm not right in the head.
He did an FA Cup final preview. That's still
I lack focus, and that was the FA Cup final when Mourinho was here, wasn't it?
That was one against Chelsea. Yeah, so one of us, and it's going to be me, it's not going to be you, you've just lit the fuse and walked away.
No, I've got the stuff.
We're going to organise it. And I know how
to upload it, and also it ties in with the book I'm doing, True Faith. And I mean, again, it's stuff of interest. And I mean, because I was doing another one too, where I was going to get more up and coming artists on, and I did a few of them, but I'm just... Do you know, Matt, that's my life. You start off well and then you fizzle out altogether.
That must, like, I can't get, going back to it, I can't get over some of the things that, like, I forget, like the Whitney Houston thing, that pops on TikTok. Eddie Murphy, twice won it with Eddie Murphy.
No, once, but then we went round to his house to interview his brother, Charlie.
Charlie Murphy.
At Eddie's house.
R.I.P.
Yeah,
he used to be big on Chappell show, didn't he? With the whole Rick James thing as well. Telling the Rick James stories. Those were hilarious. So yeah, and it's like, you see like Chappell when he's a up-and-coming comedian. Nirvana, when was it their first...
Yeah. Mary J. Blige, her first UK appearance. Snoop Dogg we had on, Rage Against the Machine. Loads of bands that didn't become big, but Thrum, a band from Scotland called Thrum. Who I thought were fantastic, you know, at the time. And we had White Out as well, from up there. Primal Scream on a few times. With Denise Johnson, my mate. I used to always say to her, you know, whenever I'd show that clip or she put it up on her website, I'd say, look at that. I said, we were probably the 2 best looking people in that studio.
Peter Kelly says, how we got to mid-Feb and not mentioned 1991 on the Brew yet. Apologies if we haven't. Where did you watch the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup final?
Yeah. The 1991 Cup Winners' Cup final in Rotterdam, were you there?
Oh, yeah, no, I was there, yeah.
Because me and Steve are obsessed with that. That was like first memory of proper trophies, was it? I'm not surprised.
I was wrecked. I can't do the drinking and the jazz cigarettes.
Yeah, no, I'm the
and
same.
concentrate very well.
The only time I went to Amsterdam, I was the same.
I actually thought we were going to get beat because everyone forgets that was a good Barcelona side.
Well, it was in the European Cup the year after. They only lost to AC Milan, was it 94? They won it 93,
they won it 92.
Yeah, Ronald Koeman. Right. But I think we kind of almost shocked them. It always reminded me a bit of when England beat France in the opening game of the 82 World Cup, where that was a great French side, but before
the Robbo early goal?
Yeah, but before...
Yeah,
but that was a great England side, that was a strong England side. They should have won it, really, England.
Did Robbo get injured?
No, I think he scored, didn't he? The quick he scored in the World Cup.
No, he was great. But the problem was we had Ron Greenwood, so
didn't
he was
leave him on the bench or something for one game? Or Keegan on the bench, wasn't it?
Well, Keegan wasn't fit, Trevor Brooking wasn't fit, and rather than bringing good players who were fit, he left them on the bench, and then he didn't even bring Glenn Hoddle on when we needed a goal. So he didn't. I mean, England managers, they've cost us. They'd have given it to Cloughie, would have won something.
They didn't want
they'd
rather not win than have him telling him to
even
fuck off.
Bobby Robson, it still took him 6 years to realise that at international level, you've got to pick players who can actually play and not twats like Sammy Lee of Liverpool.
The one that I think I enjoyed the most was Terry Venables.
I get it,
but then I don't know how much of that was just being on home soil.
I think
too many Spurs players.
But even that, I think that tournament, right? There is a nostalgia there, and it was on home soil, and we didn't embarrass ourselves, and it was very close against Germany. But was it drew with Switzerland?
We got played off the park by Spain.
They had a perfectly good goal disallowed.
It was basically the Holland game.
The Holland game was mint. I'm not denying that. That was mint.
Really,
that was
probably, and Three Lions getting sung in the stadium.
Yeah, and we did well against Germany in that semi.
Yeah.
But lost.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's it's just the Holland game and the Scotland game as well. But even the Scotland game weren't great. No, the Scotland game weren't great.
That
just a great
side
goal.
in the 90s needed Ryan Giggs. We had no one on the left. If Ryan Giggs had played for England, would have been sweet as.
I know. I mean, I think you needed a manager that knew what he was doing, and I think that was
Hoddle.
I think Venables would have stayed on maybe, or
I thought Hoddle was good.
I like the fact Hoddle went all in with Scholes. He fucking loves Scholes.
Well, no, he understood system. He knew about players. I mean, it's just that he went a bit wacko, didn't he?
Well, his man management was off the fucking charts with it, wasn't it? I mean,
he was probably too young for that.
Throwing Beckham under the bus.
Well, it was like, I couldn't believe it at the time. I thought, well, why? First of all, Beckham should have been starting and not Darren Anderton. But it was another one like Venables. Let's always pick the Spurs players, and then to make Beckham, who's quite shy, really, do a kind of press conference just because all the press was saying, well, why aren't you starting him? And you go, well, that's fair enough.
You're a well-read individual.
If he hadn't put Beckham under all that pressure, there's no way Beckham reacts.
Have you read his book? Have you read his diary?
I've
got it. I'll give it you if you've not read it. Just because.
Did he write it in crayon?
No,
Sorry,
but you know what the funny thing is, right? When he was telling the players that they weren't going to make the squad, he brought them into a hotel room.
Oh, yeah.
And he brought them in one by one. So I think Gary Neville saw Phil Neville crying as he's going.
Yeah.
So when Gaza smashed up with that.
Yeah. And I remember there's a famous thing where Glenn Hoddle said he heard all these stories and reports that he'd been playing music when he was telling him where did he get this nonsense from. And you read his book, he says, I put on a bit of Kenny G. What? To tell him. So you've got Kenny G playing in the background as you just tell Gaza that basically his last chance of playing in the World Cup isn't happening. And then he wondered why he smashed.
How old are you thinking about booking?
Yeah.
Book it.
Yeah. Listening to Songbird is dancing about.
But that whole thing with Beckham, we put him under all that pressure and stress.
Yeah.
And then obviously that's why he reacted the way he did to Diego Simeone, because he wasn't that sort of player, Beckham.
If you read that book, he said as well.
He put him under that stress and anxiety that made him act out of character. I mean, it wasn't a sending off anyway.
No, was it fuck?
But
that annoys me. It still annoys me to this day because it was never, ever in a million years a red card.
Wasn't it? It was 2-0 when he went off, and it finished 2-0. How did he cost us?
No, I thought, was it not 2-1 to us when he went off?
They also that we had a goal disallowed that shouldn't have been disallowed, and like Hoddle, you're right. And even after he's done that, he's dropped him, and Beckham said to him, "Can I have a word with you?" And he said, according to his own fucking diary, because I've read it, and he said, "In my own time." Right, just making him wait, and he's obviously going through all this turmoil, Beckham, and I think he had a big issue as well with his relationship with Posh Spice, is that he missed her that much because they were so Do you know what I mean? He used to drive, didn't he, to go and see her, like...
Crazy.
Like... Yeah, he said that he drive like 6 hours there.
That was the thing
back,
Fergie was seeing his ass about.
I had a really good mate of mine. He's quite well known.
What's his name? Tell us.
No, I can't.
Just between us three.
Just give us a clip.
Around 1987, 88-ish, he was out at the gallery, and a mate of his was singing in this band, and this really attractive woman come chatting him up, buying him a pint and all that.
Yeah.
But he said a Yonner accent put him off a bit.
Right, a Yonner accent.
Yeah.
Terry, tell the viewers what a Yonner is.
Someone from over yonder.
Like Middleton?
Oldham, Bolton.
Yeah,
you see,
beyond.
Middleton's Rochdale, really, but they don't like you saying that.
Is that,
yeah. But yeah, no, so...
Middleton's got some proper accents.
That's
your Manchester.
But I think the skewel... That is a word.
School, yeah, they have a weird way of saying school in Middleton.
Or buzz.
But basically, so it's like, Rochdale, Bolton, Oldham, anywhere where they say reet and no, go. No. So, but basically...
Not like us who talk proper.
Anyway, this woman turned out to be...
Rebecca Vardy.
Lisa Stansfield. You know what I mean? Yeah, Lisa Stansfield.
Do you know what we don't have on this podcast enough of? Stories that end with
Lisa Stansfield.
Yeah, but
how many times have me and you had told a story to each other and it's ended with, and it turned out to be
none.
Look, the thing is, Lisa Stansfield,
and it's the poorer for it, Steve. We need to up our game.
She was hot, bad,
Lisa Stansfield,
lovely lady.
But I think she's got an haircut like me and then a mole on her face.
Yeah.
Wait, and then I said, well, why didn't you,
take her out,
caught her. And he said she lived in Rochdale, it's three buses away, because he's from like the other side of Stockport.
If you met someone, and they said they were from Rochdale.
That's to tie in with the David Beckham going down the motorway. I'm kind of thinking that some people are just GU, geographically undesirable.
Right, okay.
And my recommendation to all young lads, and I know you do a lot of stuff on the internet, if they're not just down the road, sack them off, get someone a bit more convenient.
There you go, agony uncle.
Legal advice. We had legal advice from him. We've had everything.
Take it from me.
Right, okay. To be fair, if someone lives in Rochdale, then where's your mate from?
Other side of Stockport?
Yeah.
That is about 40 mile away.
That is
well, it's not 40 miles, but it's awkward to get to if you didn't have a car.
It's 2 time zones.
He didn't have a car.
It is 2 time
zones. So it would have been at least 2
And when was this? There's no trams. So you forget that.
87-ish.
You ain't getting a tram.
It's an old diesel bus.
It's a diesel bus.
A midget gem.
Yeah.
Like
12p with your yellow ticket. Ain't worth it.
Stinking of piss.
I'm kind with you, mate. He probably did the right thing.
Could have tried.
And how was he to know, right, that happened to be the only famous?
Well, no, she was doing loads of stuff.
That was probably the only famous woman to come from Rochdale.
Wait.
No, you have Gracie Fields.
What?
Gracie Fields, who was like a huge international star in the
1930s? All right.
Made movies and everything.
Terry, it don't count when you go, she was famous for.
Yeah. And also, in the 1930s.
Gracie Fields lived in the Isle of Capri, and I think actually Gracie Fields' real surname was Stansfield.
Were they related?
No. But you never know up there, do you?
Right. Well, I'm not saying anything.
I'll take 2 people out of here.
What, from Rochdale?
Yeah.
Women. I'm going famous.
I think there's actresses that are quite famous.
Donald Love,
aren't there?
Was from Rochdale.
There's famous
Donald
actresses
Love's from
Rochdale.
Famous from Rochdale. Oh,
do you count Middleton as Rochdale?
Anna Friel.
Shut
up.
Yeah.
She's first round draft pick.
Right. Yeah, we had her on the word.
Did you?
Yeah,
she did. She's in Brookside.
She couldn't have been more 90s, Jay.
Yeah, sorry.
Are you mental?
16, her and Nicola Stevenson. Is it Nicola Stevenson? And then they were on the same show.
Is that the one where they buried the dad under the party?
Yeah. So they were the guests on. They talked about Roy Keane chatting one of them up drunk at a party.
Right.
Or in town.
Donald Love is from Rochdale.
See? Told you. Don't test me on footballers from Rochdale who played for United under Louis van Gaal.
Then they were talking about... Oh no, he's 17 on that show. We had a band from Manchester called Loveland, and my mate Johnny J came down, and then we all ended up back at my hotel getting drunk.
With E17?
Yeah, with E17, and and then she was there with her kind of minder because she was only 16.
Right.
Hey, you didn't want any of that Me Too stuff going on.
Well, that's probably for the best, sorry, to be fair. Because it
wouldn't have been Me Too.
Yeah, if my daughter, when she's 16, tells me she's been to a
that's
hotel
Brian
room.
Harvey.
Well, I feel sorry for Brian Harvey, right? Because he's not well, is he? He's not been well for a while. Like
since he ran himself over.
Yeah, and then when he smashed up his record, his gold disc and that, you can see he's got issues.
Do you know what I like?
I feel for him.
Every time he's
got mental health issues.
It was like, because Tony Morton was a great bloke, but he had to stay sober.
He was the talent behind the operation.
He was a great bloke, but he had to stay sober to do all the interviews, right? So he couldn't even have a drink.
Really?
Whereas the rest of them were spliffing it up all day. And Brian Harvey, every time I saw him, he had a spliff on. And once he had to go somewhere, for a flight or whatever, or getting some. So I said, you can't take that with you. So I got it off him. A big fat spliff.
There you go.
Hey, it was all right. Not that anyone knew about that. And can I just say now to any youngsters out there, don't do drugs.
Yeah.
All the time. Or you won't feel the benefit when you go out. But no. Take that out.
Yeah, there weren't many others.
Take that out of the live podcast that we're doing.
There weren't many others. From Middleton, Steve Coogan.
Middleton's different, though, isn't it?
Liam Frey.
You're not having Middleton.
Oh, no, there's loads of Middleton. You've got...
In Scholesy from Middleton.
Mark Burgess at the Chameleons. I think Scholes went to school in Middleton.
Yeah, he was from Langley.
So they all went to... Yeah, they all went to Cardinal Langley. So his best mate...
We was talking about that yesterday.
Yeah, so...
Talk like monks.
Scholes' best...
That looked like you, but with the robe on.
Scholes' best mate at Cardinal Langley was Eamon O'Keefe's son. Played for Everton and Stalybridge Celtic when I was at school. Big time.
Right.
So
Staley Vegas.
Stalybridge Celtic's a perennial non-league club.
No, but he ended up playing for Everton, Eamon O'Keefe. And his younger brother, Kevin O'Keefe, was in my class at St. Bede's. He was probably the funniest lad in our class. He was a good
I grew up with a lad called Jody O'Keefe, who was absolutely mint at football.
So that O'Keefe was Scholes' best mate.
Right, there you go, you see.
So there you go.
All the roads lead back to Paul Scholes. We started off with Scholes here with Glenn Hoddle, and then we've ended up back.
It's like Stella Street, isn't it?
It really is.
The tendrils go everywhere.
Someone put Nicolas Cage from Rochdale. Don't you start.
Don't start. We've had a nice, pleasant conversation, bit of nostalgia. Let's not ruin it by talking about Steve's least favourite actor. Yeah? You don't like Nicolas Cage. Did you ever have him on the word?
Who?
Nicolas Cage.
Yes. I interviewed him. He actually came in the studio, so that would have been... Episode 2. Was he
Episode 2?
So he chiseled off.
Remember, he's on Wogan. Absolutely
snizzled that car.
Wild at Heart.
Yeah, did he do a roly-poly into the studio?
Yeah, do you remember him on Wogan when he started throwing?
He was alright. What do you mean he was alright?
No, he was sound. He was
what do you mean sound?
Steve don't like him. Steve wants you to say.
He was a fucking bell. He was chiseled off his napper.
Yeah,
and he just sat there going,
"Could have been." No, he was okay. He was friendly, and I mean, most people are nice.
Was there a guest that was terrible?
Well, we had a few. I mean, what?
So it was 30 years ago.
Come on.
No. I mean,
we're not going to take anything away from your book.
They would just brief against me. So Tarquin and Quentin would say, right, pretend you can't understand his accent. I mean, I'd go to America, film for months there. Yeah. Never had a problem with, unless it was like it was in the deep south and they first hear your accent. And it's like they're listening to the tune and not the lyrics.
He sounds like one of those
homosexuals. We don't like that around here, boy.
Every time I'd have a guest on the show, they'd always pretend that they didn't understand. But they'd been briefed to do that. So even Whitney Houston, they didn't have a problem with it. I mean, I think it was Linda Ronstadt.
She did the impression of it, didn't she?
She was snizzled off.
Yeah, but
is it Whitney Houston I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
But she'd been told to do that.
Yeah.
But no, the one who was the most off her face ever was Carrie Otis, who was...
Who?
Well, she was, I mean, a beautiful woman. She was an actress, but she was Mickey Rourke's girlfriend at the time.
Makes sense.
And she came up with absolutely.
Mickey Rourke.
Didn't sit, you know what I mean?
Mickey Rourke had a McDonald's fucking cup out the back with it.
No, she was definitely on something. And then the other guest...
Yeah, do you reckon?
Then the other guest...
Going out with him.
Then the other guest on that show, and we always like the juxtaposition. That was from my radio show where we keep different characters on the couch together, and you get that from Parkinson. They used to like that because you think them two.
Yeah, the word and Parkinson were very similar.
Well, no, but you know what I mean about having the very different characters together, and you're thinking, God, you got him on with her. And what happened was we had Dale Winton on. So he's
R.I.P.
He's
had a name drop twice in 2 days on this fucking show.
What is going on?
No. So Carrie Otis, we've got Carrie Otis on. So I interview her, then Dale Winton comes on, and she's listening, and he's going, well, yes, supermarket sweep, blah, blah, blah.
Is that what Whitney Houston sounds like?
Hey?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, that's...
No, I'm trying to...
Was that Dale Winton?
I'm just trying to say that he sounded quite camp. Well, obviously...
You're joking.
Dale Winton did.
So,
is this public knowledge?
I know, but Carrie Otis,
May you rest
obviously,
in peace.
Who the fucking... You're telling me he's got fake tan next
she's
time.
like that kind of mega man, Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
So she starts laughing her head off, uncontrollable.
Oh, God.
So
a bit past the point of it being funny to the point of she's obviously off her face. So what do we do now?
So I thought, here's a great line.
Oh,
So
God, here we go.
I said, Carrie, are you laughing at Dale? Because obviously the camper he was, the more she laughed. I went, are you laughing at... I said, he's a British institution. I said, it's like laughing at the Queen.
Oh, see what you did there.
Cheap jokes. And I apologise now, in retrospect.
Do you know, my missus cried twice about Dale winning dying.
He died. Guy.
And she died, she cried again and she forgot. And then we were talking about him and I told her and she cried again. She went, what, he's dead? I went, we've done all this? And she cried.
He's a lovely guy. You know.
No, he is. I remember, what was that show? Where
Red Dwarf.
No, you're close. Noel Edmonds. Was it Noel Edmonds when he
House
used to
Party.
stitch up the celebrities and they put them in like situation they didn't know they were being filmed, and they did one with him and it was like some bride trying to get to a wedding, but you could tell he was dead concerned and he was just a nice guy.
Yeah,
he came across as like a
flustered,
genuine guy. He nice. He seemed like a nice bloke. That's my point.
Horrible things. A quick one about United. I need to get it off my chest.
Go on, you can have 5 minutes.
So Ruben Amorim, this is the worst United side I've ever seen.
There you go. There's your reference.
I'm 64. Yeah. I'm 64.
You don't look at it.
I
63,
saw
by the way.
the Man United side that were relegated in 1974, 73, 74.
Yeah.
Every single player in that United side relegated in 74 in terms of technical ability, in terms of skill, technical ability, passing, fight, walks straight into this team.
Right. Let's have a look at some of the players that you're saying walk straight into this team, because you can forget about George Best. Obviously, he walks into any single team.
He wasn't there.
And obviously, he only played 12 games, which is one of the reasons we got relegated.
But what
Stepney, I'll give you.
Right, Stepney.
Martin Buchan, I'll
easily.
give you.
Big Jim Holton.
Jim Holton.
Jim
straight
Holton.
into it. Alex Forsyth. So they all went to Scotland with the World Cup.
How old Sadler at this point?
Sadler wasn't playing. He hardly played that season. He was gone. I think
he played
went
twice.
On a free.
It says.
So Alex Forsyth, he was our second big transfer from Partick Thistle.
Sammy Mack, you're having that all day long.
Yeah,
Sammy Mack walks into this team. Lou Macari walks into this team.
Jerry Daly
walk into this team.
Yeah, I'd give Lou Macari a game.
Jerry Daly was an amazing player. So he was Irish. We bought him from Bohemians for 22 grand.
Right.
Smoked about 40 a day. Weighed about 9 stone, wringing wet. Yeah. So skillful. So like great passing. Penalty taker, the best I've ever seen. Always side-footed it. Always sent the goalie the wrong way.
Just to pull you up on one thing though, right? He was obviously very good, but Alex Stepney got more goals than him that season. So
Kenny says, I'm old enough to have watched that team, and I don't think Terry's wrong. I was chatting to my dad about this.
No, Willie Morgan. Yeah. I mean,
he was iffy.
Really?
Our issue was we just didn't have anyone to put the ball in the net.
Which obviously we've solved that now.
Yeah, we played a bit negatively. We played a bit negatively up till
40
Christmas.
years on, or 50 years on, and then things are much better at United.
And then we played 4-2-4 after Christmas. I remember us in that, you know when teams always play great, just in that fight, the relegation battle. We beat Everton 3-0 at Old Trafford.
Great days.
We slaughtered them, and then we went away to play them and slaughtered them at Goodison, but ended up losing 1-0 to a dodgy penalty.
Go on.
Get your bets in for that tomorrow.
Oh yeah, he's called it. You've called it. We battered him at home.
Absolutely batter him
at home, Everton. And we went away and we lost
to a dodgy penalty.
The only time I've been to see United away at Everton, Boxing Day, 1977. They were like second or third in the league. They finished in that position that season. They had Bob Latchford, Martin Dobson. They had a great team. These are England internationals. We beat them 6-2, and they even had, and I've got the programme, and what's great, because programmes are always a bland read in those days. Well, welcome to our visitors.
Opposed to now where they're full of,
their programme was
controversial information, and insight, and exclusives.
Why is it England are picking Steve Coppell and Stuart Pearson ahead of Bob Latchford and Martin Dobson, who were much better players, and we battered them 6-2. It was amazing.
I'm going to stick my neck out and say we won't be doing that tomorrow.
Yeah, well.
But right, the counter argument to this is, and you said
David says what got that team relegated? Lack of goals. Yeah.
Well, we only shipped 48 goals all that season. The only teams that shipped less goals than that United side were Leeds, who won the league, Liverpool, who came second, and Derby County, who finished third.
Right.
So that was what we didn't get hammered by anyone. There was a lot of 0-0s, a lot of 1-alls, and a lot of.
I'm always curious about this, right? Because Tommy Docherty took us down, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was the fans with him?
Oh yeah, because
I get the fact that he's in a mess.
It was a really young side. I mean, people like Brian Greenough were amazing. I mean, that back four, you've got to remember 5 of that United side that went down went to the World Cup with Scotland in '74.
Right.
You know, Willie Morgan, Lou Macari, Martin Buchan, Alex Forsyth.
Because that always fascinates me about that is the fact that
if we were playing
the
this
club
system,
and the fans stayed with Docherty.
If we were playing this system with wing backs, Stuart Houston, who was also later a Scottish international, and Alex Forsyth would have been perfect.
Why did the manager get no grief?
Why were the fans all right?
Because we knew that there was a big change needed. He hadn't really been backed with much money, Docherty.
It's a totally different situation.
And well, there were always
enough about Amorim. Talk about Docherty. Oh right, I'm gone.
You know, I mean, Amorim again. I'm not a fan of systems.
Do you know if Amorim likes to in his receptionist or not?
I don't know. I just think Amorim.
For those who going, what's that got to do with anything?
But that was the end of Tommy Docherty, you know.
Yeah.
Even
it was the physio's wife.
Physio's
wife. And he was sending him off on scouting missions. To be fair, he was with her till the day they died. It was a proper love story. But in a way, Manchester United was seen as a very Catholic club at the time, you know, with Busby there and, you know, the Edwardses and all that on the board. And it was like, oh, we can't have any of this. But then we got Dave Sexton. It was good, but he was bored, you know, he was a bit dull. Mind you, having said that, the way we've been playing the last few years, you know, other than that little bit of Camelot era under Ollie, I'd have Sexton on. He makes Sexton look like Matt Busby, you know. But it was a lot of sideways passing and getting rid of Gordon Hill to get, you know, Mickey Thomason. It was Gordon a bit more direct, but didn't have skills magic. Gordon Hill's magic.
Gordon Hill, everyone who's I've spoken to him, Dan, everyone else raves about him. Selling him just seems like an insane thing.
Steve Copper. Well, but I mean, again, Docherty bought these players like 22 grand for Jerry Daly, sold him for 350 grand. Gordon Hill, 70 grand from Millwall. They'd just been relegated, sold him for 350 grand. Copper we got for 40 grand. You know, just an amazing player. He was like a student at Liverpool Uni. Played part-time for Tranmere.
Do you know what?
Shankly was looking at him.
Whenever I think of Steve Coppell, I know obviously he was United, great and all the rest of it, but I always think that's the Man City I miss.
He was only there for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then he went, I've made a mistake here.
It's the 95, 96-ish City that I miss.
Yeah.
You're talking your Frank Clarks, your Brian Ortons. Yo, that's the Manchester City era that I
playing for a draw when you need to stay up. So you need to win to stay up.
Thinking King Cladsley's world class.
Yeah, because he had 2 good games.
What everyone forgets: City were the big spenders in the 70s, not us. So
when I was a kid though,
Sexton got a fair bit of money, but City were really big because they were ambitious. They wanted to win stuff. But United were...
Was this with Malcolm Allison as manager?
No, even after with Tony Buck, who died the other week as manager. So they were buying... They bought Asa Hartford, 275 grand or something like that, you know, from West Brom.
Yeah.
You know,
City spending money?
Yeah, but really good, and they kept buying strikers.
This is a different era we live in,
Dennis
Stephen.
Stewart,
Spent in the fucking 90s and got relegated.
I remember. I remember having arguments with people like that.
What happened was they always played a good attacking game with 2 wingers, and then they panicked a bit when they bought Alisson back, and he threw the baby out with the bathwater to change it too much. But I think that team would have got there, and instead they bought John Bond in because they thought they might get relegated. It was like basically the Norwich City manager missed the middle of the table, and he turned City into a middle of the table side.
Legend.
So the worst
that man a statue.
The worst City team that I'd ever seen were the one that ended up getting to the FA Cup final in 1981, and you thought, I felt sorry for him because they outplayed. They outplayed Spurs though in that first.
You felt sorry for him,
when it was 1-1. Well, no, because Spurs are full of star names, and City didn't really have those sort of players.
Who was the lad who scored? Didn't he score an own goal?
Tommy Hutchinson.
Yeah, scored a goal for City and a goal against
But he was on a free from Coventry. They didn't even pay money for him. He was a winger, but he was coming to the end of his days. Good player, but Scottish, I think. Tommy Hutchinson. Because that was the old joke, you know, that Joe Corrigan, the City goalie, was hitchhiking on the motorway and he sees Tommy Hutchinson. He says, "Hey up, Tommy, which way are you heading?"
Wow, very good. Those happier, simpler times.
Simpler times.
Go on,
it was all about when City were a fucking laughing stock.
That's what I mean. I miss all that. Bring back. Who was the guy? Gary. Oh, what's his name? The CEO.
Gary Cook.
Yeah, that was, that sort of
Forward
guy.
with Franny.
Yeah. Oh, do you remember that protest? They wanted Swales out forward with Franny, and Franny Lee took over and he got relegated.
Spent a fortune
I
on
love
City.
that City.
He really cared
Do you know
about
what?
City,
Peter
those
Swales
Swales.
looked like a man with the weight of the world on his
He
shoulders.
had the best wig ever.
But he genuinely backed them.
Look
he
at him.
genuinely backed City.
He looks like a fucking blue, doesn't he? Look at him.
Well, they reckon that Jimmy Murphy on his deathbed in hospital, and he kind of fallen out with United, but Peter Swales went to visit him and he was telling Peter Swales to sign Paul Stewart. He ended up playing for Liverpool and Spurs and City.
I've interviewed Paul Stewart.
Yeah. So that was Jimmy Murphy as he was dying. Signed this lad.
Really?
Peter Reid days at City.
Those were good days. He was in that advert that you saw.
Well, he had a good system, didn't he, Peter Reid? He had a good system going at City where he had like Niall Quinn, Nod It Down.
Was it Mike Sheeran?
Mike Sheeran. It wasn't
Gary Flitcroft.
I mean, I used to joke.
It's like Keith Curl and Terry Phelan.
They had a few players.
Well, they used to joke that he gave you neck ache.
But not offensively naff.
No,
do you know what I mean?
Well,
Keith Curl
was, because Keith Curl, I think he cost something ridiculous, like 2.6
They spent big money on Keith Curl, Terry Phelan.
But Wimbledon
and
never gave
else.
Keith Curl the ball. But because he went for a big transfer fee, I think he thought he was Beckenbauer. So he'd get the ball and start trying to dribble it through.
See, this is what I'm saying.
And then someone would just take
naff
it off
players, but not offensively naff.
Michel
That's
Vonk.
who do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like those.
That's what you want.
Well, the weird thing is, Gerard Vikings, remember him?
Yeah.
And then they didn't know what to do with him, and then they were like decimated.
That's how you find out a real City fan, because if
no.
they think King Clancy was good when they've seen the likes of like David Silva and stuff like that,
But
shut the fuck
that
up.
last derby game at Main Road, and City were down to the bones of their arse with injuries. Gerard Vikings plays the best game of his life.
Yeah.
He was fantastic. I mean, we did outplay him
Alan Ball.
for most of the game, but
Alan Ball was class, wasn't he? When he
as a
went
player.
Well, I liked him as a manager. He went out there.
I quite enjoyed what
I
he did as a manager.
I like
favourite
I like the fact that last game of the season against Liverpool.
Was that the one where they were playing for a draw but they needed a win? There was one where they went.
And it went around the crowd, didn't it?
Yeah, and everyone was like, "What are you doing?"
Roy Evans had basically said. And this
I
is
enjoyed his
and
managerial career.
I got
This
told,
is the golden era of football.
I got told this by,
it's obviously true.
by a Liverpool player. Roy Evans said to them, because it was the following week was United in the FA Cup final. He said, "Right, first half, you're playing for your places in the cup final." He said,
Good bit of man management.
Yeah. He said, in the second half, where do you want to play on Boxing Day next year? Southampton or Main Road? Right. So basically, they folded, didn't they, Liverpool? City got it back to 2-2, and then they were like dribbling it in the corner.
They were keeping it in the corner because City thought if we get a draw, we stay up. They were wrong. They needed to win.
No, that was Alan Ball thought.
Yeah, Alan Ball thought that.
It wasn't true.
And then the crowd are all going mad. The players are keeping the ball like time wasting and getting relegated in the process.
Well, that makes City again.
Yeah. He was a weird one though, wasn't he, Roy Evans, in that, because
I mean, he was a good manager, really. He built a good side. But it was just United were better, that's all.
Yeah. He dropped thingy for the final as well, didn't he? Neil Ruddock for the final. Neil Ruddock played all them games up to the final, and he dropped him for the final as well because chatting to him about that Liverpool when I see that alcohol.
I don't think he'd have won it.
I don't think he would have, but he was gutted because he was telling me he played every game up to the final. He played in the semi. I think that he'd gone to 2 legs or a replay. Played in that. Was a starter for him, and
who did he play instead of him then?
I think it was John Scales or someone, I can't remember. But
fucking Phil Babb days.
He said he got his family tickets and everything, cup final tickets, FA Cup final. Like, got them all tickets. His dad's in the crowd and all that, and he says like 2 hours.
Man of the match
in that FA Cup final. Not Eric.
I don't think it was Eric.
It was a terrible match.
It was awful.
I think it was Roy Keane.
He man him, didn't he, out of the game?
Well, it was one of them where we nullified each other too much. They were a bit scared of us, and we were a bit scared of them. To be fair.
No, I don't think Neil would have made a difference. I'm just saying, it was curious. I was chatting to him about it.
You know,
96 was the best year ever.
Wait, I went to that final. I got on Russ Williams. You know what was used to be Soccer AM. You know, when Russ Williams did it.
Williams?
I went on
before that pre-Lovejoy?
Yeah, this is pre-Lovejoy. So 96, I went on that on the Saturday morning. They arranged me to have a taxi to take me to Wembley. you know, when it finished at about midday or whatever. And the other guest on the show was Stan Boardman.
The Scousers.
The
Germans
and
bombed
all
that
that.
chippy.
So
the
he actually,
Fockers and all that.
No, so he actually said to me, Stanley went, he said, how are you getting to Wembley? I said, well, I've got a car. He said, well, shall I hop in with you? And then he was asking, well, whereabouts you staying? So I had a freebie, you know, like Olympic Gallery and all that. We get there and he's got his like cream suit on.
Was he playing? Why has he got the same suit as the players?
So we go in, there's the stewards. Oh, it's Stan. He's going, all right, lads, how's it going?
The Irish.
Yeah.
You know, and then I go in,
Is he Welsh?
They don't even ask him for a ticket.
Really?
He hasn't got one. He blags in with me.
Sensational bit of Wembley Cup final jibbing.
Yeah,
you
can't.
You know what? That's what you got to do. Forget going turnstiles E and D.
No.
Club Wembley.
Go to Club Wembley.
Yeah, but obviously he's there in his sort of cream suit. He belongs at Wembley. Liverpool are at Wembley. All the old sort of stewardy blokes at Wembley know who he is. Oh yeah, all the comedians. Then, but the
That was the
Germans
same when I
bombed
went
our
up to the
chippy.
FA Cup final. Steve was with his ticket, didn't work, but they let him in. And it turned out someone was in his seat. They duplicated the same ticket.
Oh, you get too much of that at
Yeah.
Old Trafford now. And if I see one more person doing that, I get very aggressive.
What,
you know, like
filming?
when we had the penalty the other week, what is it, a bloke's like that?
Wow.
And put in my
Well, that annoys me,
eyeline,
to be fair.
in my eyeline, I said, get that fucking phone down.
Yeah.
Your top hat. Irish
Nicely
kid he
done.
was.
Shirt from-
hairy ears.
Right.
An Irish kid with hairy ears. I said, don't you come over here with your hairy
Right.
ears sticking your phone in the way.
There he is.
He did. It was weird. He had really weird hairy ears, this kid.
Well, this isn't a sponsor.
Must have been
podcast,
cursed
so we're not
by
gonna
the
push
fairies.
Manscaped products at the minute.
But you probably should check them out.
Yeah.
No, he needed.
Oh, one
He
of them
was-
Turkish ones where they stick the lollipop in there.
He was probably only early 20s, maybe
Stop
23, 24. But he had proper hairy ears, you know.
Fascinating. I think that's a
I've
good
never fucking
noticed.
No.
Now you're not going to be able to stop noticing it next time at Old Trafford, but make sure you don't film in front of Teddy. You don't like it.
Well, it's not that. It's like, okay.
I pity people that film at Old Trafford.
Well,
I think if you want to
hold
film
it
this
there.
shite, like, I feel sorry for you.
But he's only up. It's like
watched.
Remember when we were mint?
Yeah, we didn't have phone cameras were a thing, but we didn't bother with any of that. I might have took the odd picture on a disposable now and again, but that wasn't really a thing.
We had a wide camera at one point because I remember getting some photos of Eric in about 94, 95, and it was like these like letterbox shaped photographs. I don't know what the ratio is or whatever, but it was like a mad bit of film that you could get. So we got some really fucking smart photos, and it was like Eric and like the pitch, and there was nothing else in the
panoramic.
shot.
That's mint that. So what I mean, like I've got barely any pictures of watching United from back. I've got a few.
No,
got
I
a
mean,
few that have been
obviously
taken off me.
But I mean, I'm in the South Stand, so you're surrounded by them.
This is what I mean. You got
It's your own fucking fault, innit?
You
Being
can't
in the
sit in the South
South
Stand
Stand.
and moan about people taking
but
photos.
I mean, I had to try and get what tickets were available. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then
What,
obviously
you get in the fucking
because
South
because
Stand?
you know because you used to be on the telly or whatever, they think you've got more money than you have, so they don't give you like the cheap tickets. Tony's
You get to tell them, I don't want to be in the fucking South Stand with lots of South Stand
I'd like
kids.
to get to tell them, can't I have a freebie in the Warwick Suite every week, like Alan, what's his name, off Coronation Street, and his mate
Alan
Howson.
Alan House. Oh yeah, from the jungle.
Hey, he's a great bloke, but I'm thinking, bloody hell,
you
come
can
on,
sort that.
can I?
You've got some
I need to
digits
up
in
my
that
profile.
phone.
Yeah.
I need to up my profile.
So we
a bit.
ring them, right, and just start waffling.
Should I say,
So
don't
give
you
up.
know who I am?
Yeah, and then
don't
they'll just
you
give
know
the
who I am?
ticket.
I think Jim Ratcliffe is great.
Do you know what made me laugh once, right? When Moyes got sacked, they invited a load of us down to 5 Live. Nicky Campbell won it. So he invited me and a few other people and him. So he rocks, right? We're all there at BBC and he rocks up and he's like, so you bloggers and all that, are you? That's what he said to me. And I'm like, I'm just season ticket holder. He went, all right, okay, sound. We're chatting that. Go in there. So there's like 4 of us sat around and then Terry and Nicky Campbell. And it was just Terry.
No, but I am a motor mouth, and also I like to try and start a fight.
And he was going on about how I remember you saying like, oh, we've got to stick with him, we're getting rid of managers. Atkinson got sacked when we were 4th the season before and third and all this stuff. And I was just sat there like, this is like an history lesson to me. And then at some point, I think Nick Campbell said to me, so what do you think, Jay? And I was like, oh yeah. I forgot I was meant to talk.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to get
I've got
better.
that photo
That's me
of somewhere.
ADHD that
I
does
didn't,
that.
I didn't, honestly,
ADHD.
I wasn't bothered.
I was at the press showing of Braveheart. You know that?
Right, okay.
Right? with Nicky Campbell sat right in front of me.
Really?
Yeah.
So it all comes around full circle.
No, we were chatting beforehand, and then when he chops the guy's head off, he turned around to me. And went,
spoiler
like,
alert.
I know, yeah. Whoa. He's quite religious, isn't Nicky Campbell?
I don't know.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, Nicky Campbell. Right, I think we're going to wrap it up there before Terry starts telling us another story that takes us into Tuesday.
Sorry.
No, don't apologise. Terry does have a podcast that Steve helped him, Steve suggested to him and I've helped him launch, but we've not launched it yet.
No. So I've got loads of coach stuff about Manchester. Plus, I will do a snipey Man United one.
Can we? Right. If we do a United one, you need to post it because the last United one you did was looking forward towards the FA Cup final.
Hey, but didn't I predict we'd win?
Probably, I can't remember.
There you go.
Did you? I'll check the.
I had a feeling in my water.
Ago.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a feeling in my water.
Right, I think we're going to end it there on Terry's Yori.
I knew we'd beat Newcastle in that final.
Yeah, exactly.
And next week when we go to Barcelona, we're having it. I watched that last night.
I can't do it, Steve. It angers me.
Joe, I can do it because we're so shit at the minute. I'd be like, oh yeah, Dwight York.
No, I might give it a go, bro. You always message me like, I'm watching it again. I think I can't, man. I get too depressed. It's like, look at what I used to watch. That bench walks into United's team right now that we had in those glory days.
Well, I mean, there's not any players. I mean, I know you like Bruno. I think he's all right, but now he's a bit shackled in this system. It's like there's just no one there that anyone's going to be singing about in 10 years' time. And I have never known a United side like that.
It does feel terrible.
The side that got relegated had special
that.
Players in it. It had Martin Buchan, it had Willie Morgan, it had Lou Macari, it had Sammy McIlroy. You know, it had.
But it gets passed
Brian
on though,
Greenough.
doesn't it? It gets passed on. Like, you know, that squad, all right, at the beginning, probably a lot of those players, all those players would have played with likes of Best and Law and Charlton and Falks and all them lot. You've got a good example there. Busby probably managed a lot of those players, also at least some of them.
Yeah, some.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, we've got away to the point now where we are 12 years since Fergie retired. So you've got none of that. None of them lot other than Johnny Evans and Tom Eaton, obviously, who've come back. But you haven't really got a thread of like people who've worked with Fergie, who've been coached by Fergie.
But also,
you haven't got.
If all the staff at a club are demoralised, the players are the staff. They talk to the cleaners, the canteen staff, all of them every week.
You've got Bruno Fernandes. I know you're not his biggest fan, but you've got people like Bruno Fernandes and Tom Eaton paying for the women's team to go to the cup final when they found out they weren't getting free travel.
End of last season.
The fuck is that?
End of last season, didn't we win the Women's FA Cup, United?
Yeah.
So at the end of the last day of the season, they didn't even wait. None of them came on the pitch. They had all the youth teams on. They didn't even get a mention over the tannoy by Alan Keegan.
Why
they didn't exist?
I brought out with him next time.
I need the loo really badly.
Right, we're going to wrap it up there. That's been Steve. That's been Terry Christian. I've been Jay. This has been The Brew. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.